they wrong, because I had this to wear. My kick-ass American flag overalls. Most patriotic outfit of all times. That shut him up. There wasn't much they could say after that. And when the president wins in November, yeah! I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a sweet shout out in his victory speech for what I gave up to be here. Because when democracy is at stake, Jack Black answers the...
What's going on, everybody? So today we're going to talk about a few stories. We're going to watch the clip of Jack Black, actor, comedian, and musician, endorsing President Slosif, or Slow Biden for short. Then we're going to look at Kansas Attorney General is suing Pfizer for what they claim is misleading and misinformation. We're going to look into that. I want to play a clip of a video I made about paper-backed ballots, which I think you'll find interesting. And then I also want to respond to the very bizarre video of Chuck Schumer grilling, but it looks like he's throwing a few slices of cheese on meat that has not been cooked yet. So that's the story of the day. And then at the end, if you have any important things that you want to ask me, you can do that. God bless you. Give me a thumbs up in the Rumble, Facebook, YouTube chat for the algorithm and to let me know everything sounds good. Dream Rare Podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? As if Hollywood hasn't ruined enough stuff. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. I see everybody and I appreciate you. As if they haven't ruined enough, there's one person that I've personally always liked, and I'm not going to let this ruin my taste forever over his stuff, but I've always been a fan of Jack Black. I loved The School of Rock. I thought it was a funny movie. Tenacious D, I think they're a good band and hilarious. And just when you think there's one celebrity that is just going to not, endorse Joe Biden or make a fool of themselves, here's the video of Jack Black I saw, and I was like, really? They got to take my boy Jack from me too? But I'm not going to overreact, and I understand that there's people that are Democrats and Republicans, but in this day and age, endorsing Joe Biden is so cringe. Let me show you this real quick before we play the clips. Apparently, Julia Roberts and George Clooney were co-chairs of a big Biden fundraiser in LA with Obama. Jimmy Kimmel was there, and apparently they raised $30 million with all of their celebrity friends. Here's the thing. I guess that's not the thing if I click the wrong button, but here's the thing. Trump has raised hundreds of millions of dollars. He has galas, he has fundraisers as well. And of course, even when it seems like nobody likes Joe Biden in your life or my life, I'm sure everybody has a friend who's maybe Democrat, but of course they're going to raise money. Of course they're going to bring celebrities together. I expected George Clooney. He's like, connected, it seems like, in that field, but Jack Black, really, bro? Here's the clip. We'll react, and then we'll get to more important topics like Chuck Schumer fake grilling or really grilling like an alien, human senator. Anyway.
A few days ago, my manager called me and said George Clooney and Julia Roberts wanted me to help out the president and speak here tonight, and I said, I am in. When and where? Thank you. And then they said, Jack, we know how busy you are. You don't have time. Look at all the other events that are happening tonight that you already turned down. MC at the Fliegelman Bat Mitzvah. The opening of the new Jack in the Box in Oxnard. Judge at the second annual Imperial Valley Avocado Festival. You don't see that on Meryl Streep's resume. I said, I know I turned them down, but my president needs me. Thank you.
So cringe, dude. So cringe. He got the dark Brandon shirt on. He's got the American overalls. He's doing like the Jack Black shtick, except like a lot slower because he's older. And listen, hey, God will make us all slower eventually. So I'm getting up there. I'm not as old as Jack Black, but I understand I'm not going to be as fast as I was in my 20s when I'm in my 50s or however old he is. But it's just so cringe. I like Jack Black. I know people will be like, he was never funny. Well, I thought he was funny. oh, well, Tenacious D was never that good. I thought they were good. Okay. I'm not going to be like a normal conservative and act like I never thought Jack Black was funny. I like School of Rock. I'm sorry. I just thought it was a funny, very charming movie growing up. I enjoyed it quite thoroughly and I like rock and roll. Tribute by Tenacious D. It's a good song. I don't care what people say. Him and Kyle, I think they're talented and hilarious. But now I have to be like everyone else and pretend like I never thought he was funny, right? That's what everyone does. Like, oh, I never thought he was funny. You're like, bro, you got a Jack Black poster on the wall. It's like, yeah, well, that's coming down and it's being replaced with Trump's head photoshopped on Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. It's like, all right, bro, I get it. But here's the second clip of cringe lord Jack Black ruining my childhood.
And then they hit me with the big one. They said, Jack, you can't go. You have nothing to wear. Your good suit is in the cleaners. Well, were they wrong? Because I had this to wear. My kick-ass American flag overalls. Most patriotic outfit of all times. That shut him up. There wasn't much they could say after that. And when the president wins in November... Yeah! I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a sweet shout out in his victory speech for what I gave up to be here. Because when democracy is at stake, Jack Black answers the call. Mr. President, you're welcome. That's not the president. That's not Judge. It's a random dude. But I thought it would look better if I talked right to a guy.
So cringe. Someone said in the comments that Jack Black his personality reminds you of Wayne Brady. Jack Black and Wayne Brady are very not similar, but I mean, whatever comparison you want to make, that's like a random one. I would never think to compare those two. Somehow that's racist. I don't know how, but I'm finding the racism in that comment. No, I'm totally joking. I don't care about what you said, but anyway. I don't know. It's just cringe. I don't know what celebrities want to get out of it or what they think they're going to get out of it or why they like Joe Biden or why they pretend to like Joe Biden. I don't know. I'm not knee deep in that world to know what goes on. What do you guys think? Like, say George Clooney, like what is he connected to, like foundations or something? Let me look it up. Let's see. George Clooney. I'm going to just do like Clinton Foundation. I don't know if he really is, but he just reminds me of that kind of guy. George Clooney, Hillary Clinton and George Clooney back a documentary. Oh, Clinton producing documentary on Clooney Foundation probe into Russia war crimes in Ukraine. Isn't that funny how I could just like predict stuff like that? I mean, one, I've spent years doing the news, so I kind of have an inkling, but just in the last year, the Clinton Foundation and Clooney have come together to do a Ukraine documentary to brainwash a bunch of people into sending $100 billion to Zelensky so they could subvert. I don't know. Anyway, I saw this. I probably shouldn't get into this and just keep it moving, but I will. I'm going to go there. Oh, yeah. Let me just take a sip of coffee to feel good about it. I saw some post about some pro-Israel guy, and he was like, this is, he was trying to say that, and I'm not saying all pro-Israel people think this because they don't, but he was saying that saying like from the river to the sea is actually homophobic now. And I was like, wait, how's that homophobic? I get you said it was anti-Semitic or whatever, but now it's homophobic. And he was like, look at the pride parades in Tel Aviv. When people want to get rid of Israel, this is what they want to get rid of is the gay. And I was just like, this goes into my theory. I always tell people that the American foreign policy, I call it the liberal gay world order. Whether they're liberals or conservatives, it doesn't matter. Even if they're like the most right-wing person in America, their duty is to run around the Middle East and Europe and just try to make everybody like push sodomy harder. They're like, look, Russia isn't gay enough. We need to fight them. And you're like, all right, okay. They're like, well, can you believe Palestine's not doing all this gay stuff? You're like, can I believe it? Yeah, absolutely. That's not that hard should I act shocked? Oh yeah, no. What? No way. Really? Yeah. Let's go get them or whatever. But, I don't know. It kind of played into that where now they're like using Clooney and Clinton stuff to push war in Ukraine. Of course they are. But anyway, let's move on before we get ourselves into too much trouble. I'd rather do that in the second part of this live stream. Here's a picture of Chuck Schumer that went viral because he's definitely not an alien pretending to be a human. Definitely not. That's a joke. It is. Anyway, he was grilling, and then people noticed it was like a Happy Father's Day post or something, or I don't know, Happy Father's Day to himself, or I don't know what the original context was, but he posts this picture of him on a grill, and he's putting multiple slices of cheese on one raw patty, it looks like, until this video gets fact checked. You know, they got fact checkers now. It's like, fact check, Biden didn't poop his pants. And you're like, how do you know? Did you go inside his underwear and like check to see if there were like doo-doo stains? Like, how do you know that Biden didn't shit his pants? Like, he probably didn't, but also he probably did at some point in his campaign. I would be shocked if he didn't. That would be insane. I'd expect him to, and I'm not even mad at it. But with the same thing with like the what is it, the Chuck Schumer thing? They're like, you know, I'm sure they're gonna fact check and be like, no, that's, you know, this was cooked or whatever. And it's like, I don't know if it is cooked. I mean, let's see what we think here on the Dreamer podcast, where we matter more than the fact checkers, obviously. So if you notice anything about this about this post, is he's like just doing the photo op. He's like, look, I have a raw patty. Like, why would you even have a raw patty on the spatula? You got to wait till like half the side's cooked and then you flip it over. But anyway, people notice he put not one slice, but multiple slices of cheese. It looks like he just put half the pack on that patty in the bottom left corner. And the patty looks like it's not cooked. You don't put the cheese on before you cook it. You cook it first, and then you put the cheese on at the very end. And usually, I'm not an expert, but you want to distribute the cheese. You don't want to put like 3 to 4 slices on one raw patty. You want to, you know, spread the love around to the other patties, maybe keep some raw for the people that don't want cheese. But yeah, it's an odd picture where everybody was making fun of it, and then he took it down. And now I think in order to, you know, protect him from the shame that is every man in the world and woman looking at him fake grilling or whatever, you know, we're probably going to have to start another war in Europe or the Middle East. So please pray for whatever country we invade to hide Chuck Schumer's shame. Because, you know, the uniparty gets really mad. They're like, wait, no, that's raw. That's not raw. It was fully cooked. You just couldn't see it. And, you know, it was real. And then like they get really mad and they're like, stop laughing at me. We need to start a war to make ourselves feel big and strong again. And it's like, come on, we've gone through that. Let me know what you guys think there. Someone said, all right, Douglas White is not having fun. So we're going to read his comment. Douglas on Facebook says, this shit is not funny. Okay. Which part's not funny? Because I think it is funny, but I disagree. He said they have to have something on him and Kimmel. You can't ignore the fact that Biden is out of it now. You deny it means you are willing to lie. You're right there, Doug. You having a normal one on Facebook or no? Do we need to get you some emergency Jesse Waters? You know, it's like if someone's like, you know, struggling, like after they almost drowned in the ocean, you give them CPR. When Facebook boomers get upset at jokes, you got to give them like a little bit of Jesse Waters or Sean Hannity to the face, and they'll be like, all right. And maybe it's a little funny, but back to the fact that if you don't point this out, you're with them. It's like, okay, I don't know about that, but to each their own. God bless you, my guy, and we'll keep the show moving, and hopefully you can handle the rest of the show. But before we do that, I do want to talk about Pfizer is getting sued by the Attorney General of Kansas. I want to, you know, someone said the other day, they're like, why aren't you wearing a beanie? It's like, I don't always wear a beanie, but you know, beanie. Oh, sorry. I'm going to put it to this, make sure it's straight. You know, this is professional, but I wanted to let you guys know that 20% off that shirt that you see right there. It says Big Farmer, not Big Pharma, and the code is SUMMER. So if you use SUMMER, you get 20% off everything on my store, dreamrare.com. Most of the items are almost completely sold out. A lot of them are under 10 and 15. So if you want one, get it soon. We're doing a sale. I'm trying to sell everything out. We're getting close. And then I'm going to try to have some new products, but check that out. And the reason I was not smiling in that picture is because my shirt was smiling. And we don't need 2 smiles in one picture. And for those who were in the comment section on Facebook, they were saying, but Anomaly, why big farms? Why not small farms? I didn't say big farms. I said big farmer. I'm tall. I'm 6'3". I'm the farmer in the picture. It referred to me, not the farm being huge. But whether you have a big or small farm, hopefully you're not spraying it with a bunch of pesticides. But check out dreamrare.com. we got a rare sale, 20% off. Speaking of random insert, transition to the actual story here. Let's get into this. The Kansas Attorney General, Chris Kobach, is suing Pfizer for misleading Kansans on a vaccine, on the COVID vaccine. So this is mainstream reporting. Let's get into the story. Why is he suing Pfizer? Let's look. Well, Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach announced that he is suing Pfizer for misleading claims it made related to the COVID vaccine. Kobach made the announcement Monday during a press conference in Topeka. Pfizer made multiple misleading statements to deceive the public about its vaccine at a time when Americans needed the truth, Kobach said. The complaint, filed Monday in Thomas County District Court, accuses the company of misleading Kansans about the vaccine's risks, including to pregnant women and for myocarditis. Additionally, Pfizer claimed its vaccine protected against COVID variants despite data showing otherwise. The pharmaceutical giant also suggested its vaccine prevented COVID transmission, but later admitted it had never studied whether its vaccine stopped transmission, Kobach's office said in a news release that followed Monday's press conference. So the Attorney General of Kansas is stepping up, and apparently in November, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton took a similar action with Pfizer and filed a lawsuit in which he accused the drug maker of misrepresenting the efficacy of its widely used vaccine. Pfizer responded to Paxton's lawsuit, defended its representations about the vaccine and its effectiveness. The company didn't believe that the Texas AG's lawsuit had any merit. So let me know what you think in the comments. This is my kind of reaction to it. I'm not really well versed in law. I don't understand, to be honest, how it works. Like if an attorney general of a state, that's basically the top cop or the top lawyer, essentially, of the state. They're supposed to be very powerful, if not one of the most powerful people in the entire state. When they sue Pfizer, like, how does that work? How fast does it go? How likely is it to win? I don't really fully understand the process. If it happened in Texas in November and it's now June and nothing's happened, does that mean it didn't go through? Is it just taking a long time? Or, I'm guessing things are not always instant. So, I guess it's a good sign, you would say. It's definitely better than them working with Pfizer and handing out free vaccines for ice cream cones or whatever they were doing in 2020. But I just don't really know how much jurisdiction this has or whether it'll go through. So I was interested to see that. I'll read a few comments, see if anything's interesting, and then I'll show you my last thing. Brett said, we should just be thankful that we aren't in FEMA camps. Definitely something to be grateful for. Someone said, remember when YouTube forced creators to lie about the efficacy? I remember everything they did, and it's kind of, in some ways, traumatizing. In other ways, not a fun memory. Someone said YouTube didn't like my parodies, said Parody Bear. Yeah, they took down my parody when I was pretending to be the world's biggest masker. I was like, hey y'all, I love masks. I love 2, I love 3, I love them on my eyes. I was just messing around because you couldn't actually tell the truth. So I was like, maybe I'll just make a joke video about it. And then they took down my parody video as well on Facebook and flagged me for it, which was not fun, but it was a funny video. Someone said, been listening to old Catholic hymns makes me feel better. That, and her name is Charlie Church. Some nice vibes there. Let's see. Does anyone else think the times we are living in are gay as hell? I think everybody thinks it's pretty gay. I shared a meme on Facebook today where it was asking the government, can you guys create those roads that you tell us about? You take our taxes to build roads, and they're like, the best we could do is make the roads gay, which is pretty much what they do. It's but there's potholes everywhere. But they're like, but what if we painted a rainbow flag over the pothole and then, try to throw you in prison for leaving skid marks on it? It's well, it's not as good as paving the roads, but I guess that's a really bad compromise that no one asked for. Majestically Awkward said, who wants to sue the pharmaceutical industry and governments for physical and emotional damage done by lockdowns? I'm not a very litigious person, so I don't know. I'd have to bring on a lawyer to really know what you could and couldn't sue for. I think Mike Yoder does a good job with that. He's been on the show a few times. But I'm going to play the last clip, and then we could talk about whatever. But I wanted to show you this real quick about paper ballots, because me personally, like, I think elections do matter to some extent. Like, you can't have no elections. You need at least two parties and different ideologies. I'm under the belief that most of the Republican Party is compromised to the point where they can get little wins, but at the end of the day, they're always kind of caving. And I have a concept I want to talk about after this too that I thought of that is probably going to piss some people off, but I think it's true for what it's worth, regardless of what side of the coin you end up on. But anyway, I do think we do need fair elections. We do need ballots and ways of voting that instill confidence that a lot of people don't have. So I made this video because I noticed that Elon Musk and RFK Jr. were talking about paperback ballots, which is something that conservatives, Republicans, Trump supporters have talked about for a while, and also something that Democrats used to talk about when they said that Russia stole the election. So as the election season is underway, I made this quick video for Instagram Reel, TikTok, and Facebook because it brought together to me 4 different people, Democrats, Republicans, RFK, and Elon Musk, all saying that there should be paper-backed ballots, which I think most people here tend to agree with, at least to have a paper trail if you're going to use electronics. So here's the video I made, and I just wanted to include it in today's show. Are paper ballots the way to go for elections? RFK recently posted, Puerto Rico's primary elections just experienced hundreds of voting irregularities related to electronic voting machines, according to the Associated Press. Luckily, there was a paper trail, so the problem was identified and vote tallies corrected. What happens in jurisdictions where there is no paper trail? Elon Musk responded, we should eliminate electronic voting machines. The risk of being hacked by humans or AI, while small, is still too high. Now, I know a lot of the media tried to frame it as only Trump and Trump supporters wanted to question elections for nefarious reasons and trusted paper-backed ballots more, but you can even find a video of Kamala Harris from a few years ago suggesting that it was much safer to protect from a hack or fraud.
And then look at where we are now in this year of our Lord 2018. We're talking about paper ballots, but that actually might be one of the smartest systems. Going back to, a day when we could have something tangible that we can hold on to, because Russia cannot hack a piece of paper like they can a computer system connected to the internet.
Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think electronic voting machines are fine, or we should always have a paper trail? So yeah, I mean, that's pretty straightforward video. I don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, but we'll see what happens with this election. It's good to have, although I don't fully trust either of them. RFK Jr. and Elon Musk kind of pushing the narrative that it would make more sense to have a paper trail. The more people pushing for that, the more likely it'll probably happen. I wanted to say this, then I'll read some comments. Let me know what you think about the first story. Jack Black with the cringe Joe Biden endorsement with the American flag overalls and the dark Brandon t-shirt. Very cringe, very lame. Second story was Pfizer getting sued by Kansas, if you have any information on that, and then what I just talked about. But I was thinking about how Republicans and conservatives, they always talk about George Washington and the founding fathers and the Boston Tea Party and like what would they think if they came back, like how much would they not like Joe Biden? And it seems that the left doesn't care about 1776 vibes and like Americana Constitution stuff. That's primarily conservatives and Republicans, right? For the most part, it's like, yeah, what would they think if they saw what Biden was doing? And I thought about it, and it's kind of messed up, but it's true. I'm like, what would they think of your party also? Because of course, like if George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and all these guys, they came back and they saw like major cities and what Democrats were doing and DEI and all of these like new age stuff, they'd be like, yo, that's ridiculous. But the funniest part is usually when I hear people that are like, what do you think they'd think of that? I'm thinking to myself, what would they think of you? Like the Republican Party, this is the least controversial thing I'm going to say, so I'm going to start with this. Income tax is just straight communist. They were freaking out over like a T tax, and now we have like 35, 36% taxes, 32. Trump is running on the premise of getting rid of income tax. I'd be shocked if he actually did it. He's saying all the right things, which is good for election season. I think he's making a lot of leeway with his like promises, and I hope he does it. But in general, they would look at the Republicans and be like, you guys are also communists. Like you're just fake opposition. We wouldn't even want 10% tax, let alone 32. Like that's normal. It's the least controversial thing I'm going to say. Also, when you look at like Republicans nowadays, I bet the founding fathers would be weirded out that they were hiring so many women. I'm not saying you have to agree if you were born in the 1900s or the 2000s. This is the world you were born in, but the founding fathers were not born in that world. That's why they were the founding fathers, not the founding trans binaries or the founding people or the Congress people. They were like men, all of them, and they wrote the Constitution. And I don't think they would ever, like, what if they came back and you were like, look, Donald Trump just picked Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. They'd be like, what? A woman on the Supreme Court? And you're like, yeah, and she's for vaccine mandates as well. And she doesn't rule against lockdowns. And it's like, not only is she not really conservative, but she, dropped the ball on two of the biggest court cases of her time so far, in my view. And, they would think that all of that's crazy. Like, you have Ronna Romney McDaniel, like, running the RNC for years. You have Richard Grenell, who's like open, homosexual, like as like one of Trump's like trusted leaders running foreign policy, talking about how gay he is. I'm not saying you have to agree. I'm not saying that you have to feel that way, but George Washington would probably feel that way. He'd be like, wait, you have a bunch of gays and women running the Republican Party? Like that's the opposition to the liberals. Like the founding fathers would think that Republicans were like liberal communists. I'm not saying you have to agree. I would look at George Washington in the face and I would be like, hey, George Washington, stop being a racist, sexist, homophobe. Why don't you wear rainbow colors and parade around with Lockheed Martin? I would tell George Washington to stop his homophobia. But, I just always crack up. You always have like these like Republican, like team red people. They're like, you got the Constitution, sir. Like, oh, George Washington. It's like George Washington would be disgusted by all of your leaders as well. Like I'm sure if he had to pick, he'd probably be Republican, but I don't think by much. He'd be like, what the hell is going on in this country? Like the left is like insane and the right is also insane. There is no opposition. Yeah, it would be pretty interesting. But anyway, you don't have to feel that way. I just thought of that. I was like, let me share my unpopular opinion. That's, I don't know. I thought it was funny. Anyway. Hayes Anderson said, Jack Black is Black Jack backwards. That makes him a genius. Does that make you a genius? Is that even his real name? I mean, I don't care, but it's probably like a made up name, right? His name is probably something else, but whatever. Let's see. James Hobbs said, so disappointing to hear from Jack Black. I guess he's truly playing a role in all his movies. Wow, just wow. I never would have guessed he was a Hollywood libtard. I know this one stung a little bit, but someone was mentioning, like, I'm not going to look into his whole family history, but they were saying like a lot of these people are agents and whatever, and their family did this and that. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll look it up since that person said it. Let's see. Jack Black. Let's look up Jack Black. See, yeah, okay. Thomas William Black and Judith. Oh, his the son of satellite engineers. Oh yeah, didn't they work for like NASA or something? Of course, he's the group that must not be mentioned. That don't notice that. I just was in the early life section. I was like, oh, got to avoid that. Let's not look there. But I guess his mom was like a American aerospace engineer. She was an electrical engineer on the Minuteman missile, the science ground station for the Hubble Space Telescope. In particular, her work on the abort guidance system is credited with helping save Apollo 13. So I guess, I guess she was involved with literally the government and, like NASA stuff, I would assume. If you're doing that type of stuff, obviously that's government, like aerospace. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they've been, going to the moon. We'll get back soon, as long as you watch enough Shill Nye, the Democratic Party spy guy, and Neil deGrasse Tyson. We'll get back there soon, kids. Maybe we'll go to Pluto one day, or maybe we'll go to Mars, or maybe Elon Musk will go in Uranus. That's where he says he wants to go really badly. Maybe if we just give enough money to NASA, then we will go there again. It's like Ukraine. It's like a couple $100 billion. It's not enough. We need more money in order to fight Putin. Yeah, we're almost there. Putin's, so afraid of us. Pluto is just one rocket away, and everybody on Earth is poor, and crime's rising in the major cities, and you can't talk about why. Who loves NASA anyway? I condemn that segue. I condemn that. Whoever did that, disgusting, anti-science, just disgraceful. We exist to give money to other people so they can do other cool stuff while we can't afford groceries. That's what's always what we're here for. Anyway, someone said Pluto is Mickey's dog. That's accurate. It would be funny if Jack, I don't know what that even meant, so I'm not going to read it. Someone said draft the vaxxers. I don't know about that. Why do we continue to support a non-NATO nation? Do you want my full breakdown of why we have to support Ukraine? NATO doesn't really have anything to do with that, although they want them in NATO. They've had a plan there. They have plans that they don't tell people about, and then they just do them, and then they give you a reason for doing them. They'll be like, it's a democracy. It's like, it's not really a democracy, or what do you mean by democracy? That's not why they're there. So I could probably talk for 10 minutes about why we're in Ukraine, but it's not for why they say it is. Parody Bear said NASA wants to probe deeper into Uranus than ever before. They do. And Elon Musk, he really, really wants to go deep in Uranus. And he claims he's going to drive a Cybertruck through Uranus. And I'm a little nervous about that, because when it comes to the solar system and, dark matter and space, I've always learned, because I've always watched Bill Nye and I listen like a good boy. And, I was always like, the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to drive a Cybertruck deep into Uranus, because, there's a lot of planets that you wouldn't want to do that to, but especially, a shiny new Cybertruck going into Uranus is catastrophic for climate change on Jupiter, because a lot of people don't understand this, but the climate of Uranus and Jupiter are connected by cyber moons. And if you don't give $30 billion to NASA every year, they can't give you a CGI image of this stuff, because their, telescopes are, just need a little bit of enhancement. Anyway, where were we? Someone said Elon has tunnel vision. Dude, we got some jokes here today. I appreciate it. Someone said Zelensky said it will be a great big Israel. I hear people saying that. I haven't seen any articles or videos. I stopped listening to Zelensky when he was parading around calling himself Martin Luther King. But I see a lot of people saying that online. But I see a lot of people saying a lot of things online, so I don't know what's really real or not. I wanted to talk about this too, for those who no one asked, but I'm like, does anyone want me to talk about this? Crickets. I'm like, yeah, okay. So, but there was Turning Point USA this weekend. They had a big event. And then there was AFPAC, America First PAC, with Nick Fuentes, which is competing with Turning Point. Turning Point is huge. They're, as huge as Uranus, some would say. No, I'm just kidding. But, Turning Point is a massive conglomerate at this point. They get major speakers. They got really big, I don't know, production and lots of people attending. And then Nick Fuentes and AFPAC are kind of the counterculture to that, and they have their event right next to Turning Point every year. They try to, and it's basically Nick Fuentes and all the speakers there think that Turning Point USA is too in the bag for Israel, and they don't serve American interests first. They serve Israel interests first, which is not that inaccurate. But anyway, yeah, they tried to have an event and it got shut down or something. And then I saw videos of this influencer or streamer named Sneeko. He got punched in the face by a security guard in Detroit, and his tooth fell out. And just watching that stuff on the weekend just made me glad I wasn't in Detroit. I was just watching it all go down. I was like, yeah, I would never, I don't want to go to Detroit, no offense, but also it just looked so hectic. I was like, this is why I don't go to these events. I don't know. I don't want to be a part of everything all the time. Sometimes I just like to observe, because I don't know what's going on. I don't, there's certain, I have certain friends that I've met and I've hung out with. Other people, I'm just kind of trying to figure out who everybody is, because I'm not even really sure. So it was an interesting thing to see on my computer screen, but I'm glad I wasn't there, personally. But I'll go to some event sometime. It's just this weekend I didn't watch videos oh, I wish I was there. I was sometimes people have FOMO. I was like, yeah, I I like my weekend a little better. But someone said I got a tooth knocked out by a bottle. Well, that can happen. Sorry to hear that. Someone said it's a Zog, eat Zog world. What does Zog stand for? I've seen that. Zionist occupied government. Is that what Zog is? I'm not even like, I've never used the term, but is that what that means? Zionist occupied government? That's my best guess. Someone said gay pack. Gay pack. That's a funny one. Is there a gay pack? Like there's an APAC? It's like there's definitely like log cabin Republicans, which is the gay lobby in the Republican Party. I don't know what they're doing, but I know they have a lot of leeway at a lot of these events. Like, you know, they get real gay up in there. I don't know what they're doing or how or what do you do if you're like a gay lobby? Like, what do you just show up and you're like, yeah, we're gay. And then people are like, okay. And then they're like, we need things. What do you want? Be like, things for us. I was like, don't they have everything at this point? Like what does the gay lobby even do at this point? You know, like you could get married and then get divorced and owe your husband or lesbian butch wife half your money. Like, what can't they do? I don't know. They could do like everything at this point. So what does the lobbying group do? Make sure they don't lose any of it or something? I don't know, but it's above my pay grade. Someone said we have a hemp festival here in Skåne, Sweden, and all the commercials for it online are suppressed by Meta. It's getting out of hand. Yeah, they don't like hemp. Like, is it hemp like to smoke, or is it hemp like products, like hemp made things? Someone said Aflac or APAC. Are you asking me which one I like better? Or I don't like. I don't know. Aflac has the duck. That guy's kind of cool. I don't know about the insurance, but you know, a duck speaking English is always kind of fire. Someone said I heard Sneako's tooth was chipped. Yeah, I saw that video of like the security guard hitting him. I don't know to what extent it happened, but it looked like they got kicked out of their own venue. It just seemed like mayhem. I was like, I don't know. I had a relaxing weekend. I needed a reboot. I've been busy, so I needed to I went to bed at like 10:30 one night, woke up at like 8 a.m., went to the gym. It was a good time. Someone said I'm smoking on some APAC right now. I don't even know what that means, but okay. Anomaly, do a song with Locksmith. We actually did a cypher together like 10 years ago, but I don't know if Locksmith likes me, but I'd be willing to collab. I'm definitely trying to do cool stuff this year, some things that are meaningful. I want to be great. I don't want to be just okay. So anything I'm trying to do, I want it either to be fun. I'm enjoying myself today. Thank you guys for being here. But, you know, I don't want to be complacent. I think in the last couple of years, I wouldn't say I got lazy because that's not true. I'm like very not lazy, but you know, I'm just, it's like, I don't know. I like everybody's going into these niche markets and it's like, I like Trump. I'm going to post about him eating pizza pies 100 times a day. It's like, well, that's not me. You know, and the left is like, look, I'm wearing overalls and a Joe Biden shirt. It's like, well, that's not me. So it's like, you know, I could post more and make more content, but I want to actually like what I'm doing and I can't will myself to do it. So I'm trying to find like ventures that I believe in, because if I don't believe in it, it's hard. Like I could probably make like 10 videos a day about stuff, but it's like, why? Like, what's the point? I always like to have a meaning behind it. Do a great patriotic song. Well, I have one with Trapped called Come Together, but I wouldn't say it's outdated because it's still cool, but it's older. I got to do some new stuff. Get back to surfing. Nah, the Stingrays tried to Steve Irwin me. I got the message. Listen, Stingrays, you do you, I'm going to do me, but I'm done, dude. The Stingrays are coming after me. Someone said Obama's still running the show. Obama is so low down on the totem pole, it's not even funny. Like, if you think Obama's running the show, you're behind. Obama didn't even run his administration. Does he have power more than most people? Of course. But is Obama the top of the pyramid? Come on. Level up. How about working with Tom McDonald? I'd do a song with him if he wanted to, but I don't know. I don't know if he wants to. Stingrays were coming after me, bro. They tried to stab my foot. They did stab my foot. And then I went back and they came after me again. That's when I got the sign. Body surf, Stingray, took 3 months off, went back in, got Stingrayed again. I get it. Rest in peace to the homie Steve Irwin. I'm not going out like that, okay? So I found some new hobbies. Someone Someone said, yeah, Obama runs things, not oligarch class that funds campaigns in both parties. Dude, Obama. Yeah, I mean, he's not nobody, but there's people that tied Obama's hands, metaphorically, of course. Elon's trying to hack me right now. I hope not. Doesn't he have better things to do? He's like the richest guy in the world. He's got to hack me. That's how he gets his thrills. He sends rockets to Uranus. Like, he wants to drive a Cybertruck straight through Uranus. No, I'm just kidding. But it's funny to say that because it's a planet, you sickos. It's literally science. When I talk about this stuff, it's science. It's like the if there was a, what's that thing? Oh, Mount Rushmore of science, it would be Anthony Fauci, science, number one, right there. The George Washington of science. Neil deGrasse Fed Bison Tyson, Shil Nye, the Democratic Party spy guy, or Bill Nye, whatever his name is. Those three. Who would be the fourth? I'm trying to think of who's like on the science Mount Rushmore that really controls it. It's definitely got to be Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse, Fauci, and then I mean, maybe you could throw Elon Musk on there. He's like the bad boy of the bunch, but I can't think of anybody else that's like big. Bill Gates. He's not really a scientist though. He's just kind of like he looks like the pregnant emoji on Apple, and I don't know what he does, but anyway. Someone said Jack Black is funny. Tenacious D is awesome. With that said, he was obviously paid for his time to endorse Biden, but here's the thing. Nobody will be with him to see who he actually votes for. Well, I guess it makes sense if his mom was like in, the government's NASA program type stuff, like he's going to be a normie, Everybody wants you to be who they want. Like you want him to be someone else, but it's like, he's probably not, he's like, hey, I'll do what I got to do. Joe Biden. Yeah. Government. And you're like, snooze. Stingrays are buffering the live streams. They could be. And why am I being buffered? Is that happening? Beach ball or pancake? I don't. Beach ball or pancake? Is that like a sexual innuendo or something? Or are you asking me like a beach ball or a pancake? Like you're talking about like a booty that looks like a beach ball or one that looks like a pancake? Obviously not the pancake, but if you're talking about food, I don't know. Not a beach ball because it's just a ball. I don't know. Pancakes sound good. It's weirding me out. Stop asking these questions. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Fruit at the bottom or stirred? I don't know. That just sounds pretty gay. Leave that innuendo in Pride Month or whatever that is. We'll get to it in July. I did not know about the Jack Black early life entry. Well, now you do. Yeah, I didn't know. I remember hearing that, but I totally forgot that his like mom was like a NASA lady or whatever. Anyway, but he's talented and he's funny. You can't take anything away from him. Like the song, what's it called? Tribute. It's a great song. I think that song's hilarious and really good personally. So did I see the interview of the guy saying he gave Obama a blank blank? No, I didn't see that. I mean, I've always heard rumors of it. And then, Tucker Carlson interviewed him. I don't need to watch an hour interview with some gay guy saying he sucked off Obama. Like, I don't know. It's like I get the gist of the interview. Like, is that the journalism? I got to like, no, you got to watch this hour-long thing. This guy saying he sucked off Obama. You're like, yeah, I'm good on that one. But yeah, you could let me know what he says. Like, he's like, yeah, I did. I sucked him. You're like, okay, and you took that information to Tucker Carlson. Why? Like, why is that on my computer? Like, I get the gist of like why he's saying it, but I don't know. It's not like a top 100 thing I want to do in my spare time. Be like, yeah, let me listen to this hard hitting interview. It's like I get it. I get the premise of it. It's not going to change my life any, but and like, who is that guy anyway? Like, say you did do that to Obama. Like, why are you on Tucker talking about it? Like, you trying to get money? You said you smoked crack with him, allegedly. It's like, why are you telling the whole world you smoked crack? Like, you got to be a pretty big loser to do that. But I don't know. Unless you're like Mike Lindell or something, and you're like, hey, I used to be on drugs. Now I sell pillows. Buy my pillow. And then it's like, oh, wow, he really changed it. But if you're just on Tucker Carlson being like, yeah, I smoked crack and did gay stuff. And it's like, and you're like, yeah, I did that. And it's like, okay, and you want the whole world to know that. I don't know. I guess it's brave or something, but I don't like. There's certain interviews that I just don't want to watch. That's one of them for sure. Yeah, you can get into the weeds of that one. It's like the joke that people make when people are like, "Yo, did you see Hunter Biden's laptop pictures?" And you're like, by a mistake? Yeah, why? And they're like, I stared at him for 15 hours with all my QAnon friends, and we were going through the patterns on his dick. Like, you don't have to stare at naked Hunter Biden crackhead pictures with prostitutes, like, you know? And they're like, no, in order to beat the deep state, I have to stare at his private parts for hours, searching for clues. And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna watch sports, you know? You can call it the Roman circus or whatever, but I'm gonna watch Luka Doncic, but you know, have fun with that. But no, I get it. Someone said, just kidding. Let me see. You're on fire today. Thank you, Brian. Somebody's laughing. I think it's hilarious, but there's no laugh emojis in my chat. So it's like, am I just here having a great time by myself? Does no one else think this is funny? Anyway, thank you, Brian. Finally, someone on Facebook said something positive. I like Facebook. It's still like a huge platform for me, but it seems like the people on Facebook, they only want me to post funny memes. Anytime I post anything, like they get mad, you know, they're like, shut up. And okay. I'll go back to the Trump meme. Sorry. A headline is all you need. Yeah. For some things, all you need is a headline. For other things, you need to read the article. But for Hunter Biden stuff, it's like, nah, I'm good on that. Thank you. Someone said, great show. Enjoying it. Thank you, Gay D. Bennett. Appreciate you. It's your month this month. Everybody's saying everything's gay, so you got a whole month to yourself. That's fun. Someone said if drug companies ran false ads on their products, they should be banned from running ads. But here's the thing with Big Pharma, and this is all I'll say, okay? I'm not trying, and this gets misconstrued, because sometimes I get on my high horse or whatever, and then people be like, oh, you just want to feel this, and it's like, no, I want people to know what happened, so then they actually know what happened. Like, you got to get to the root of what happened. And all this, like, oh, it was Fauci or Pfizer did this. Sort of, yeah, Fauci sucks. Pfizer also, in my opinion, sucks. But it's way deeper than that. So it's like they're working with the government. They have liability shields by the government. Moderna has, lawsuits with the government, and Pfizer has lawsuits with Moderna. Like, when you get to what's going on, it's like they're never going to be held accountable because they're all in it together. Like, it's not just Pfizer lying. It's like Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, the government, Operation Warp Speed, the PrEP Act, the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, the fact that the government bought the doses, like, this is what I told my audience. Because I didn't want to get censored and because I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your life, I never told anybody what to do. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I don't want to be in control of your decision whether to get vaccinated or not. I'm not your family member. I'm not your doctor. I had conversations with my family, but when it comes to my show, I didn't tell anyone what to do. But what I did tell people was this product is being warp speeded years ahead of time. And the only reason they're able to do that is because they have liability shields called the PrEP Act. So I didn't say this was going to happen, but I said, say hypothetically, this product sucks, it doesn't work, and it hurts a lot of people. They don't have to pay for it. They're going to cash out on it because the government bought it. In some cases, the government funded it. In some cases, the government sued one of the companies for the patent. The government was like all in on it, to insane levels. So once you understand that, educated people probably didn't want to get the product. They're like, why would I warp speed a product that they don't have warp speed liability for? You know what I'm saying? If the liability was warp speeded, just like us go getting it, then it's like, okay, well, now they're going to take it really seriously. But all these other things they're saying, it's like Trump saying he's going to cut income tax. Like, is Trump going to cut income tax? Probably not. No, but like, if he did, it's a smart thing to say. I'm glad he said it for his campaign, but you could say that and then you can get in office and then you could not cut income tax. Cause it's like, how do you even do that? You could try. But I don't think he is going to do it. It's the same thing with like Pfizer and all these people. So, if you're the attorney general, you have a right to try to open up a lawsuit if you think there's one there. But the lies, they go way deeper than Fauci or Pfizer, and the government and the Republicans and the Democrats and the agencies were in on it. And I say that not to act holier than thou, but if you just say, oh, this was just Fauci, it's like, no, it wasn't. This was just Pfizer. Absolutely wasn't. And that's what everyone wants to say. That's called like limited hangout, I think they call it, where it's like you give people like a quarter of the story and let them hang out in that part of the story because it doesn't matter and it'll never get to the core of it. That's what like 95% of people talking about the vaccine, it's either a fake narrative that they're manipulating in order to make their guy Trump look better, or it's a limited hangout where it's just like just enough to like make people feel like they're going after one or two guys, but it's not just Fauci and it's not just Pfizer, but Fauci and Pfizer are definitely two key players. But you know, we'll see what happens with this. But I just want people to know, like, that's why I didn't get vaccinated, right? The reason I didn't get vaccinated is because I did the research and I said, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, if something goes wrong with their product, they have no liability. And the fact that the government is trying to force us to get a product that they joint own a patent for when it came to Moderna is alarming. And the fact that, Moderna sued Pfizer for a patent from like a decade ago is weird. And the fact that, they shut down the Johnson and Johnson double pumpy, that's also weird. But it's just like, I had enough information where I know that they didn't have liability for this product. So to me, it's pretty obvious. Like, if they had to pay for every injury and every side effect of the product that they're warp speeding, they wouldn't have warp speeded it. They would have taken 4 or 5 years for trials because they couldn't afford to mess up. But when you can afford to mess up, you're not messing up because that's the business model. Like, it was all there in 2020. And this is what I'll say too. A lot of people never covered that because they're either not intellectual or they're just professional activists of a politician. Like, there's certain people that are really popular in the Republican Party. They're not smart. They're not intelligent. They're not years ahead on. They just literally dick ride Trump. So they're like, oh, Steve Bannon, oh, Donald Trump. That's all they do. It's like, be angry at the Muslims or whatever. It's like, okay, well, sure, whatever. Like, why? But they never say anything. They're always just like outraged about, like, 50 steps like late, outraged about the consequences with denial of like how it even happened in the first place. And that's why I don't listen to most people, because they're just dumber than me. Like, I want to listen to someone smarter than me, more interesting than me, someone that's funnier than me, or someone that's like got information I don't want to listen to like 40 IQ like idiots. I said the R word, but like, that's what most people, in my opinion, in Republican media are. They're not funny. They're not interesting. They're not cool. They're not likable. They're not intelligent. They're not ahead of the curve. They're just blowhard, yelly, the laugh. Like, that's all they do, But apparently that makes a lot of money. I don't, people love that stuff. So obviously, like, there's going to be times where what I'm doing is extraordinarily popular and times where it's not as popular, and what they're doing seems to work well, but it's whatever, people can watch what they want. Someone said one of the reasons I got the J&J shot was because it's not mRNA and it was through the VA, so it would open up a type 4 disability claim if it was injured. It's interesting logic. Yeah, the J&J was not mRNA. But yeah, and then you could get disability if you were injured through that. That's interesting. Well, hopefully everything went well. Let me see. Someone said, LOL, didn't you debate sticks? Yeah, we debated like 2 years ago about how inflation works. And I said that Republicans printing $6 to $8 trillion in 2020 led to inflation. It doesn't mean Biden's 0% responsible. It doesn't mean Biden didn't make it worse. Biden sucks. But I understand basic economics, and apparently the other guy that I debated said that Trump is 0% responsible for inflation, which is so stupid. And anybody with half a brain knows that that's not true. Thomas Massey pointed it out in March of 2020 and points it out now that the money printed in 2020 added to the inflation. But apparently he runs a channel where he's brainwashed people into thinking that if Democrats print trillions of dollars, then inflation happens. But if Trump does it, it doesn't happen because he likes them a lot or something, which is like, I don't know. I'm not dumb enough to listen to that stuff anymore, but apparently people do, which is fine. That's why there's the internet. Everyone has something for them. But Charlie said, I'm always laughing with you, Anomaly. Appreciate it. Someone said, a veteran I dated on and off for a couple of years, got the J&J for the same reason. Well, that sounds definitely more strategic than just like, getting one for a French fry. So Someone said if he didn't print a bajillion, we'd all be in FEMA camps. Yeah, the narrative. It's so interesting how groupthink works, because once enough people say something, other people will say it and they don't even really think about it. And that we saw how the Democrats did that for 4 years, but also Republicans did that with a lot of the vaccine stuff. They all just started making up things that they never would have made up. Like if it were Mitt Romney who did it, they wouldn't have this like grandiose theory of like why they had to rush the vaccine. You just be like, oh, Mitt Romney sucks. But with Trump, it's like a few influencers started making stuff up, and then everybody just started saying it, and they just assumed like, oh, this has got to be true because we're all saying it. And it's like, you're all wrong. It's like, you're all wrong. Just like when the left, they're like, but I was taught this in all my classes. It's like, well, your teacher lied to you. I don't know what to, and like everyone just goes along with it. So that's politics. That's herd mentality. And I would say this, I'm going to try to keep this under an hour, but you could really see that, I think, this year, more and more and more. Like, I see these trends happening years prior where, say in 2019 and 2018 and 2020, you could tell the difference between people, or at least I can, where it's like, okay, that person's smart and talented and they'll be successful for as long as they want to be. Or like, say like Candace Owens, regardless of what you think of Candace Owens, like I knew that she was a star and she would be popular and successful no matter where she was. Like there's people at Turning Point where if Turning Point ever dropped them, they have no career. Like I'll give you two examples. Andrew Klavan, Michael Knowles, in my opinion, like they've had the Daily Wire machine behind them for like 10 years and they're still not even like that popular or interesting, where if they got dropped from the Daily Wire, in my opinion, they're screwed. You know what I'm saying? Like they need the Daily Wire more than the Daily Wire needs them. Candace, that's not the case. So basically what I'm trying to say without being a dick is like, you could see in the landscape, there's a lot of people that came in riding Trump's coattails that were really honest and really like cool. And then there were people that weren't cool, weren't interesting, weren't funny, and they're basically just riding it till the wheels fall off. So now I think 4 years later, I could like I see like it's like fifth stage follower culture where like a lot of people they just don't want the party to end. Trump is like Coachella and they don't want it to end. They're like Barron needs to run, Melania needs to run, Don Jr. needs to run. Whatever keeps this party going, we don't want to end it because it's like a huge cash cow, a huge social hangout. It's fun. Trump is funny. He has rallies which are like really fun to go to, and there's a lot of cool people there. So I get it. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying like as time goes on, you're going to see who's who, because some people are smart and they back Trump and some people are really dumb and they back Trump. And, in order to get attention, you just have to like be like, I like Trump, like there's people that are in my feed all the time on Facebook where they literally, they're not saying anything ever. They're literally just like using something where they'll be like, I'm black and I like Trump. Or they'll say like, they'll be like, I'm gay and I like Trump, and I'm this and I like Trump. And that's all they do. And they're just like, that's all I am. I'm just this guy with this label and I like him. And like Facebook loves that stuff. But like on Twitter and Instagram, I think it's becoming more like boring to, people under the age of 50 where they're like, what else are you though? Like, do you have anything to add? And they're like, no, just the normal talking points from 2017. So I think as the years move on, like that's, it's going to be obvious, and some people will be really successful still. And I think some people will fall off the map and just be like, trying so bad to keep that fire alive from what they had before. I just see that happening this year where I think Republican like media, like this is at least how I saw it, 2016, 2019, things were like on the up and up. The internet was rising. Like the populism on the left and the right were getting more popular than the establishment. It was exciting. Trump was the guy who really honed it. The media was coming after him, and the deep state and the, uniparty. And like, I feel like the movement was like, it was exciting. It was interesting. People were like becoming celebrities for politics because they were just, sticking their neck out and really trying to make a statement when a lot of people were afraid. And then it's like 2020, the lockdown happened. And first 2019, the anti-Semitism speech laws happened, and that caused a rift. And then you could really see like who is smart and gets it, the First Amendment, who is stupid and doesn't get it, and then who's a sellout and doesn't want to say it because they're afraid of losing their money. And then in 2020, the lockdown happened. And then it's like, okay, now you really could tell who's intelligent or who knows a lot of stuff about how pharmaceuticals work because we're locked in our house and they're printing money. So now a lot of these normies, like they had nothing to say or do because they're not smart enough to know anything. Like all they know is like worship of a political character. And then now from 2020 to 2024, I think like this is just my interpretation of it is, when I first started in 2016 and 2017, there was really like no such thing as like you're famous just for being a political speaker. And then it became a career for a lot of people, which is fine. I mean, it's a blessing for sure. But now it's like some of these like political famous people, they're like just so like they're just like soulless politicians where they're just like riding that wave as far as they can. And like, give you an example, not trying to be an asshole, but to me, this is like the most Michael Simone said, so you're voting for Biden then? So you're 5 years old? No. What is you like you're literally retarded if you think that anything that I said is voting for Biden. Like you're dumber than like the dumbest liberal ever. I'm sorry for using the R word if that's banned on social media, but anyway, I condemn that speech. But moving forward, to me, like the most cringe thing that I see is like David Harris. He'll just go on a plane wearing some shirt that he's selling, and he sits there like a baby who pooped his pants, and he just sits there with an annoying grin on his face, and he's like, look, I'm in first class with a Trump shirt on. Ha 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 ha, look. And it's like, that's all, like it's just so cringe. It's like that whole like celebrity Trump culture, to some people it's still really cool. To me, it's just like so annoying and fake and douchey, where it's like, that's what I see most Republicans as now. They're just like fake, douchey, snarky, scummy, like talentless, like frauds that are just basically becoming the new era of like Republican D riders in order to benefit themselves and like just ride it for as long as it's going. So they have no incentive to stop what's going on because it's like they benefit from just like the attention of it. To me, I'm like, as a consumer, I'm just like so over that stuff. It seems like so dumb and fake to me, but we'll see what the next movement is. That's why the people on the other, like the Nick Fuentes type people, they're getting more and more popular, because here's the honest truth. Like, I don't care how much you like David Harris. He's a nice guy. He's been on the show. If you put David Harris in a debate with Nick Fuentes, David Harris is getting smoked. Like, he's not that smart. He doesn't know that much. You know what I'm saying? He's like a Trump, like, bootlicker essentially, that just takes selfies on airplanes of like people looking at him wearing shirts. Like, he's not an intellectual thinker. He doesn't know that much about like what's actually going on. So these new wave of people that like the mainstream like conservatives don't like, they'll probably beat them in a debate for the simple fact that they're willing to talk about topics that are edgier and just in a more honest fashion. It doesn't like some people will take it the wrong way, but it's like if you ask me like who would win a debate, Mike Pence or Kamala Harris, I would say Mike Pence. It doesn't mean I think Mike Pence is right about everything, but you gave me two people, I would tell you who I think would win a debate. So that's kind of like the most Republican celebrities at this point. They're really like not smart or interesting. They're just like, look at the left, what they're doing with the gay, ha ha ha, look at my shirt. Like, that's all they do. And to me, it's like so annoying. Like, I can't stand it personally, but everybody has like something that they like. I just think it's like, I don't know. As a consumer, I'm just like, when is this era going to end? And then like something else will come up, because I look at Republican content, a lot of it, and I'm just like, oh, this is not something I'd want to spend my time watching. Someone said Rand Paul. He's better than most for sure. I definitely deserves more power in the Republican Party. Thank you, Marilyn. I appreciate you. Someone said, I think all celeb names are made up, so if they mess up in the industry, they could take your name via contract. You can't make money using it. It's an interesting, it might be. I mean, I don't know. It could be what they're doing. Is the mask real on Biden? I don't know. I saw that video. It did look weird, but probably not, but it could be. Kamala Harris talks like she is doing a book report she's never read. She's just happy to be there with her little pearl necklace. I feel like she looks like she knows she shouldn't be there, and she thinks it's funny that she's like has so much power. Like, she's probably so easy to control because she knows she doesn't belong there. So she's just like, I'm happy to be here. And yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. Someone's asking about Nick and a girlfriend. I mean, if you want to, Twitter is where you can go into that sort of gossip. I don't care. I'm not getting into people's personal lives or who they're with or something. People are like, this person's gay or whatever. It's like, I don't know. Whatever you guys want to think or talk about, I don't care. I'm not gonna say I don't care, but I'm not. Oh, look at what that person was with that person. It's like, okay, sure. Someone said Rand Paul was at the Wailing Wall. His father, Ron, was the real deal. Yeah, I like Ron better than Rand. Rand is more of a politician than Ron is. He's a little more connected, but he's still better than most. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the guy Pat Buchanan, I missed that whole wave, but everybody always talks about him, and I checked out some of his stuff. Apparently, he was like Ron Paul before Ron Paul, Pat Buchanan. He was like a, what do they call it? Paleo conservative. That was before my era, so everything I've heard of him, I had to like backtrack and look up. But someone said the country was definitely better 4 years ago before the pandemic. Um, Yeah, I mean, the lockdown and the money printing is gonna screw up a country for a long time, like psychologically, physically, financially, pharmaceutically, like that whole thing. I like that was all really rough. And it's like getting beat up and then you're like trying to figure out who beat you up. And that's like Trump is better than Biden, but like I disagree with like 99% about it because everybody's trying to figure out everybody that's conservative for the most part, not everybody, but most people, they're trying to justify like why Trump did all this stuff. So they just make up anything in their head. Like you could say, and I'm not saying this is true, but you could say the Democrats are the bad cop, the Republicans are the good cop. Trump is sold out to the pharmaceutical industry. Trump is sold out to the donors. Trump is sold out to the deep state, and he's just an actor, and he's in on it as much as everyone else. That's not a narrative that other people want to talk about. But let's just say that that was true, and then 99% of people don't want to admit it. Everybody's just coping and copying, like, oh, he had to do it. He had to print the money. He had to do this. He had to rush the vaccine. People wanted the vaccine. Like, I don't buy any of this stuff from like any angle. Like, everybody's just trying to like figure out why. It's like people weren't demanding a vaccine. They brainwashed people into thinking that that's what would set them free. They've done that for other things, but there was no lockdown in money printing. Like, to me, this was all essentially like orchestrated and planned to some extent. I'm not saying every aspect of it, for the fact checker sense, but it's like the vaccine, the lockdown, the manufacturers, the money, like this was all like a rollout. It wasn't like oh, he had to do it because people wanted it. Like that, to me, people who say that stuff, this is why there's only so much I could care about politics, because a wise man sometimes says nothing. A wise man sometimes knows when to talk and when to sit it out. And 95% of things that people are talking about now, I don't want to talk about because it doesn't actually matter. And then when you do talk about stuff that matter, people are so emotional and they don't even realize that like the Republican Party and Trump are like in on it too. Because it's like, I like him, so let me try to figure out why he did this or that. Like, to me, it's as delusional as being like, well, maybe George Bush listened to his advisors and got tricked into war because he's a good guy. It's like, he could be, but and Hillary Clinton could be here to save the day, and she's just made bad decisions because their advisors tricked her. Like, you would never say that about Hillary Clinton. You'd never say that about George Bush. You'd never say that about anybody. But there's only one politician that people will literally twist themselves into a pretzel to hypothetical, to make a hypothetical for why they did this to do that. And to me, that's how, like, I'm not bragging, but I'm going to brag. I think I'm ahead of 99.9% of influencers or newscasters when it comes to the COVID pandemic. Like, if they ever brought me on their show and I could explain what happened, they wouldn't even disagree with me because I'm out of their league. So it's like, everyone else, they're just saying things because they need to say something. Let me talk about this because this is the topic, but they don't know what they're talking about. And then when you bring all this stuff to them, they've never heard it before, or they just have this emotional reaction where they're like this guy, where they're like, oh, are you voting for Biden? No, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. They're like, oh, but he had to. Also, no, like, that's not, like, your understanding of it is wrong. But that's the difference, is like, a wise person listens and learns, and a dumb person talks. I'm not a dumb person, so I talk when I know things. I talk because I do it for a living, but the reason that I know a lot is because I listen and learn when I don't know. And if someone comes to me with something I don't know, then I learn it, but most people, they're paid to talk, so they don't ever learn or listen. So if you compared what I've talked about when it comes to the pandemic and the vaccine rollout to any other Republican influencer, I win, because what I'm saying is more detailed, it's more in depth, it's more factual, it's more backed by evidence. And what they're saying is just what they wish it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Fauci sucks. We all know that. But like, do you want to get into depth with like how in on it Republicans and Trump are? You don't? Okay, then we'll just all pretend that inflation had to happen and this had to happen because this and that, and they got tricked by his advisors for the election. Like, that's fairy tale land. That's what you wish it was in order to still believe in your side. Me, I'm past that point, and they can't out debate me. So they just, they just sit in their little world and just make up stuff for anybody that wants to listen. But, that's just what I think about that topic, is like everybody's so far off. And because everybody's so far off, it would be like going into a democratic socialist event and trying to sell them on capitalism and like Ludwig von Mises. Like, they're not going to listen to you. You know what I'm saying? You can't go into a socialist event with a Ludwig von Mises book and be like, hey guys, socialism sucks. Did you ever think of libertarianism and the free market? Like, you're not going to convince a single socialist. They're too far gone. That's not only Democrats and socialists. It's Republicans. Like, Republicans are so far gone on the false opposition, limited hangout, talking points of the pandemic that they'll look at you like you have 1,000 heads, because they'll be like, but Anomaly, I've heard this story from like 50 different people. Dan Bongino said it, Fox News said it, Tucker Carlson said this person said this, David Harris said this and that, Daisy Journal posted this, typical liberal, but I've heard it from so many people. Okay, well, they're all, I'm not saying they're wrong about everything, but like on this topic, they're not in my league, and they can't, they don't report on these things because they're more pro-Trump activists than they are journalists for the American people. So if there's a crossroad of like doing reporting and journalism where Trump is complicit with this stuff and he's not dumb, they won't do it. So then your narrative becomes like, oh, he got tricked by his advisors. Oh, he's just too dumb. Oh, he did it to save the lockdown. Oh, he did it for this reason. And it's like, there's evidence for all of those talking points that can prove you 100% wrong. And once you bring it to these people, they know it. That's why usually, like, if I ever have these conversations with people like that, they then spiral because they know I'm not wrong. So they spiral and they go, oh, well, what are you going to vote for, Biden? It's like, no, it's like telling a kid to stop sucking a lollipop and go sit down and, like fold their clothes or something. And they just like spiral. This is with these grown men. They're so up Trump's ass that it's like, well, here's the reporting that you'll never post that proves everything you're saying wrong. They don't ever come to me and say, oh no, you're wrong. They spiral and they go, oh, so what am I supposed to do? So what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And you're like, are you okay? Like, how stupid do you have to be to react that way to information? Like, if I ever saw RFK Jr. or Donald Trump or David Icke or any person ever, like left wing, right wing, whatever, bring forth reality that I was not aware of, I don't freak out by the information. Like, you're a moron if you do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, when RFK explained that Trump took $1 million from Pfizer, I didn't freak out and say, oh, what do I do now? What do I do now? It's like, what do you mean? What do I do? Like, what? Like, I listen to it, then I go, is that true? Okay, if that's true, let me like research this, because a lot of these donations have to be legal for American reasons. And I looked it up and I was like, wow, I never knew that Trump took $1 million from Pfizer and then he hired a pharmaceutical lobbyist. So I started piecing all these things together because I didn't hear the information and say, I hate this information. It destroys my critical thing, or like whatever it is, like cognitive dissonance. I'm mad at the information. Like, what are you, a caveman? Are you a moron? No, you learn the information and then you incorporate it. But that's how these people usually respond to me when I bring forward this stuff that they'll never report, because they're essentially, they act like they're on Trump's payroll. I'm not saying they are, but they're activists disguised as like meme pages and politicians or whatever, they like news analysts. They don't have an answer for these things. They just have a freak out. You know what I'm saying? Here's the freak outs. I've memorized them all. The first freak out is, oh, so are you saying voting for Joe Biden? No, that's not what I'm saying. I never would do that. I never would advocate for that. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You should be embarrassed that you even said that as like a serious thing. It's like a baby throwing a fit. That's the first talking point. They break down and cry like a baby, which is just weird because they're like grown men. And then the second one is like, oh, so what's the solution? Why would information that's true, that you can't disprove, that bothers you to the point that you turn into an emotional child, why would that make you spiral and ask what the solution is? Like, what if you said to me that, like, Mitch McConnell is as corrupt as Pelosi? Do I say, what's this? Like, I don't freak out. I'm like, oh, if that's true, then the solution would be admitting that and then acting accordingly. Like that's this, it's obvious. So then they move on to, like, well, nobody's perfect. I'm not looking for perfection, but if the not perfect, opposition guy can't even stop a vaccine takeover of America and they're in on it, then we don't really have a real opposition. And you have no financial or social incentive to report on that because you're making millions of dollars basically as fake opposition. You're no different than Mitt Romney. You're just the younger, cooler Mitt Romney, but you don't realize you're Mitt Romney, because if you ever realized you're Mitt Romney, you'd freak out and yell at me because, your whole life is ruined. Your whole reality has been shattered. So it's like, I've memorized the freak out reaction to all this stuff. And I've memorized all the talking points, and I just wanted to bring that up because that's a lot of stuff going on. I feel like everybody's just like repeating what they're hearing. Like, there's not a lot of thinkers out there. There's just a lot of parrots. So it's like, the top people in the Republican Trump media say something and then everybody just regurgitates it without even thinking about it. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but I've talked about it too many times, like saying he rushed the vaccine to save the world from a lockdown. That's the dumbest, fakest herd mentality, just regurgitated talking point that just blew up because nobody thought about it and everyone just said it because it's like, that feels good to say, because then that means that this guy is doing it for good reasons. Like, that's what you wish was the truth, but it's not the truth. And no one could out debate me on that. They would just listen to what I said and then spiral and then say, well, no one's perfect. It's like, I didn't say, I wasn't asking for perfection. You're just making things up that aren't true because you want them to be true. Like, you want that to be the case. It would be like disliking Donald Trump. Say you hate Donald Trump, and then you're like, well, Joe Biden's good for America because I hate Trump. He's not, though. Joe Biden's terrible for America. He's a horrible leader. He like, his administration and the border policy is ridiculous. There were nationals from China that got arrested at the border purposely because then they just get let into the country. Like, Biden sucks. Like, hating Trump doesn't mean Biden's good. That's like idiot behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know if you hate Trump, you wish Joe Biden was good for democracy, but he's an idiot. He's horrible. Joe Biden's probably the worst president ever. Just off of like presentation, speaking, complete, bowing down to new left-wing norms that never would help a country succeed. Like, the border alone is like a disgrace. But that's how a lot of the people on the right think. They're like, well, if Joe Biden's so bad, that must mean that the other guy tried to do the right thing in order to fight them. It's like, you wish that was the case because you see how bad he is, but that's not the truth, So then it's like, what do you do about it? I've made videos, I've done reporting, I talk about it when it's interesting to me. And I always try to talk about the meaning behind the concept, because then it's like, if you could figure that out, then you can make decisions of your own. And I think that's why my content was always popular. On one hand, I think a lot of people watch it and they say that guy's pretty smart and that guy's honest. But on another hand, there's so many people that will talk to me in person. They go, I like how you ask me what I'm thinking. And like, some of it's for engagement, sure. But in my videos, it's like, I'm giving you what I see. And then I'm like, what do you think? Because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to like tell you, don't get the vaccine or do get the vaccine because I'm your leader and I'm your doctor and you should listen to me. That's not how I see myself. It's like, here's what I know. You would benefit by knowing this if you don't already. Once you know this, make your own decision. But, I'm making a decision based on all this information. And then once you get all that information, it's like, oh yeah, it's a lot easier to make the right decision when you have the information. But a lot of people, they like a daddy or a mommy where it's like they want someone to tell them what to think or tell them what to do. And that works for a lot of people because like, I don't want to think. You think for me. You tell me what to do. Tell me because of the China virus or the American vaccine, or like, give me some simple basic narrative and tell me what to do. But I'm not doing that. It's like, I'm not trying to tell people what to do or what to think. I'm just telling you what I know. And then I think smart people see the information. They're like, oh, that puts an extra piece of the puzzle in a story that I was confused about, and it makes it easier to figure it out. That's where I think I differ from other people. It's like I'm not trying to tell people what to do with their lives or their situation. It's just like, here's the truth, and then you could figure it out on your own. um, let's see. Do women deserve to be conscripted for all their feminist equality nonsense? I don't know what that even means. But no, to blame women for feminism is like ridiculous, because men are just as, if not more, complicit. I would say this, and some people get mad at this, but it's true. If you're in a male dominated society that's run by men, men are serving in all the working positions, men are serving in the government, it's more the man's fault than the woman that all of this like feminism got out of control, because at one point men had the control. So if they don't now, to just blame women is kind of like a beta thing to do. It's like, oh, it's all the women's fault. It's like, did men do nothing wrong? Did they not allow this, or let it go too far? Like, men being betas and weak and pathetic is a lot of the reason. And a lot of like the woman shaming stuff online too. It's like, say what you say, the truth. I don't really care, but it's like to blame, like say like a woman does this and that. To me, I don't think like, oh, screw that woman in her 20s. It's like, did her father screw her over? You know what I'm saying? Did her mom not do a good job? Did the schools lie to her? Did men in her life trick her? Like, it's not like I'm blaming only men, but I think men deserve more of the responsibility, because a lot of these problems with the women, like just to dunk on these like lost women, is just kind of messed up in my opinion. Like, you should look at the men in their life that allowed, like, men are just as responsible for feminism, if not more, than women, because they had control of everything before this was even a thing, in my view. But Robert said, you should take the time to look into corporate personhood. This will explain a lot about the current situations you're dealing with. This gave corporations more rights than slaves, women, and civil rights of 1960s. I've heard the theory of that with the taxes and stuff. I'm just not really there. Like, I'm not really trying to go there, but I know a lot of people are, or they're trying to. It's not for me at this moment, but I hear you. Someone say a weak man should have allowed any. I mean, here's what I'll say about all that stuff. I don't want to read it and get in too much trouble, but we're constantly taught that things are so much better now and they're more progressive, and Martin Luther King and feminism and atheism and all these isms and blah blah blah, and like DEI, and now look at America, it's so awesome. And like every race doesn't think it's awesome. Every political movement doesn't think it's awesome. Like, if you ask most black people, like, is America on the up and up? They would probably be like, no, it's on the decline. If you ask most white people, they'd probably be like, it's on the decline. Ask most Republicans, is America on the up and up or on the decline? It's on the decline. Ask most Democrats, is America on the up and up or on the decline? They would say on the decline. So if everything we were taught in history was true, why does every group think that America's on the decline? Something's not right. You know what I'm saying? So like, you'll be taught like, oh, they did this right, but they were wrong about this, this, and this. Like, says reading the history books, but like, at what point do you start to question that we were lied to? Most smart people have already figured that out like years ago, but more and more people every week are like looking more into every aspect of history and being like, what were we lied about? Because like almost everything is a lie. I'm not going to say everything, but like if everything in history took the right turn and not the wrong turn, and we did something more progressive and better for every race and better for the genders and better for the sexualities and the religions and whatever, then why does every group think that it's in a worse place now? Like, we don't live in a country where any group thinks that like America's peaking and crushing. Like, black people would probably say it's not. White people would probably say it's not. Asians would probably say it's worse than it was 10 years ago. Democrats think it's going downhill, and Republicans think it's going downhill. Everyone thinks it's going downhill. So why? Because everything's so much more progressive. Like, what aspect of all of this is not working? I mean, most people could point it out, but yeah, I think it's just getting more and more obvious, and that's where people that are trying to control information are failing, because things are cyclical. And in general, it's like, you can't, it would be like, I'll give you an example. Like, if you're married, right? and you're faithful, you don't have that much to think about. You're like, yeah, you get in arguments and stuff, but you're like, I have a clean conscience. I'm a good man. I'm a good woman. I do what's right. Say you're a guy or a woman that cheats on your husband or wife like 100 times in different hotel rooms with different women. And you got this person texting you and this person showing up to the house or whatever, thinking you're around. And now you're sweating all the time. You can't live a stress-free life because your problems are, gonna bother you. And that same analogy is true to life. Like nobody's perfect and nobody is 100% flawless. But if you try to do things that are moral and just and good and God willing, God fearing, it's like you have a lot less, like you don't have to like play this game of controlling what everyone says all the time. But if you're lying about everything, then you're trying to censor everything all the time because everything is a lie. And the more that people realize that you're lying about history or you're lying about the present moment or you're lying about pharmaceuticals or you're lying about politics or you're lying about race or you're lying about whatever, the more upset you get, because it's like, the fact that people would even think that or say that, where so much stuff that 5 years ago, like no one would have said, now no one, like everyone's saying everything. Nobody cares anymore about like anything. And it's like the people that don't want people to say all this stuff are like getting freaked out. But it's like the same as like just let people be right or wrong. But like, are you mad that they're wrong? You might be mad that they're wrong, but you might be mad that they're right. Or you might be mad that they're just not blindly accepting what you told them to accept. But that's naturally going to happen because the only way, and this is where the elites, in my opinion, are screwing up. I mean, 1,000 ways, but if you created a good life for people, they wouldn't question everything. 15 years ago, really people weren't questioning that much. When I was in high school, I remember nobody gave a shit. Even during like 9/11 and George Bush and the wars, 90% of people didn't want to think about anything. They just wanted to support the country, support the troops, and fight the terrorists. Now it's a whole different world, but it's not just because people woke up and read a message board or they watched a documentary. It's because their life is shittier now. So when people's life gets shittier and shittier and shittier, and the cities they live in get shittier, and their money goes less far, and their communities are shittier, and they don't have the sense of community, and everybody's addicted to their cell phones, now people start questioning more because they're not comfortable and they don't trust their government as much. And then after the pandemic, people are going to trust the government and the pharmaceutical less, as they should. That's not anyone's fault, but the pharmaceutical industry and the government. So I think this is a natural progression. If the elites want people to not question their history, if the elites want people to not question their racial narratives and their military industrial complex narratives and their double standards and their words that they made for everything, then you have to give the average person a good life. Once you start screwing over America completely, no one's buying that shit anymore. Nobody cares anymore. Republicans are starting to care less. Democrats are starting to wake up and care less. You look at certain things like about race, and you got both sides, white and black, not giving a shit, saying things that would have been considered racist 20 years ago. And everyone's like, how did this happen? It's like, no one gives a shit anymore. Like everybody's saying what they really think, and the narratives you tried to push as progressive, they're not working. So it doesn't mean it couldn't work. It doesn't mean there's not a situation where you can have all this and it works. We just don't live in the situation where it's working. So now everybody starts talking their shit. Now everybody wants to talk about race in a different way. But it's like, if life was better in America, it wouldn't be a thing. It wouldn't be so popular. It would just be the fringes. The reason the fringes are becoming more mainstream is because the elites are not allowing people to live a meaningful and fulfilling life, at least not the average person, and at least not enough people to want to not think or talk about this stuff. So it's like they've really screwed themselves over, if they even care, by I think if you want people to not question history and you want people to like believe everything that they ever heard, you got to provide a great life for people and like a normal like path to like, oh no, the matrix that you want me to live in makes sense because I do this and I do this and I listen and I'm a good boy and I study and I got the A and I got the degree and then I got this. You put someone $100,000 in usury debt and then tell them that their degree isn't going to pay because they're overqualified. You think that person's going to trust the system, the matrix that they just got all their stuff in? That's happening to everybody in this country because it's like what they're telling you to do doesn't work in every way. In fact, like 80% of what they're telling you to do is just straight up borderline antichrist and like inversion. It's like the opposite of what I would tell somebody if I was a life coach. If I was like, hey, Anomaly, what should I do to make my business grow or to be a happy person? Anomaly, I'm black or I'm white or I'm a man or I'm a woman, and this is what I want to do. If I really had the best advice to give somebody, it would be like the opposite of what the media is telling people to do. They're like, they don't want to talk about fitness or mental health or a great mindset. Like, regardless of what ethnicity you are, like your mindset changes everything, because a pro can be a con. Nobody is exactly the same. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, I want this and I want that. Well, if you're tall, you can't be small. And if you're small, you can't be tall. Messi's small. And if Messi was tall, he wouldn't be the best soccer player. Boban is a tall basketball player. And, if he was small, he wouldn't be in the NBA. And then other people, they're not doing that. But at the same time, it's like, if your hair's like that and this or this is like that, or like, yeah, you could get a wig or you could do this or you could do that, or you can get glass. Like, everybody can modify themselves. But at the end of the day, you want to teach people to be like, love themselves and be the best version of themselves they could be. Because if you're the best version of yourself, you can have success. If you're a man, if you're the best version of yourself, you can get women, you could be successful. There's people that you wouldn't consider attractive that are getting hotter women than anybody you've ever met that's more attractive. Like, why? Like, because they're being the best version of themselves, because they are fun to be around. Like, there's certain things that are going on where if you want to teach people how to enjoy their life and make the most of it, you teach them this, and this. When you look at the media, they teach everybody the opposite of everything: fitness, mental health, believing in themselves, not playing the victim. It's like they're giving a satanic, inverted, antichrist inversion, like, on everything. And then it's like, well, now everybody's pissed off. Well, now when everyone's pissed off, people don't believe history anymore. People don't believe what they learn about race. People don't believe what they learn about America. People don't want to sign up to the military to die overseas for foreign wars. Like, and then the elites are like, I can't believe people don't believe our history. I can't believe they're questioning what we taught them about MLK or this or that. It's like, yeah, well, when life is good and most people of different groups actually feel good, then no one's going to question shit because they're going to be busy enjoying their life. But you ask any racial group, you ask any religious group, you ask any political group, is the country moving in the right direction? You're not going to find any that say yes. Democrats, Republicans, black, white, Asian, whatever. Everyone thinks. You ask the average Jewish person, do you think America's going in the right direction? They'll probably say no. They probably live in a city that's crime-filled, or they'll say that the hate is increasing after October 7th. And like, you can't find a racial group that's like, no, America is awesome. Maybe like immigrants that are crushing, that have millions of dollars, that are like, I came here from India and it's better than it. Maybe it's possible that there's some racial groups but even probably most Indians or most people from other countries would be like, it was going in the right direction and I capitalized on it, but now it's going in the wrong direction and I feel bad for my kids. You can't even find an adult or a parent that's like, oh no, I'm really pumped about my kids growing up. They're going to love America. Like, you don't see that anywhere. You see people that are like, I feel bad for you. I can't believe you're going to have to do what I didn't have to do. I can't believe you're going to have to put up with what I like. That's what everyone's telling their kids and their grandkids. Like, if only you knew what it was like when I grew up, because you're not going to have that same future. So all I'm saying is, to the elites, if you're listening, some might not. If you want people to believe your history, your narratives, what you told us about the civil rights movement, everything you told us about race and about war and about, victim mentalities and double standards and all these words that say you hate someone else or whatever, if you want the majority of people to believe that, you have to give the majority of people a decent life. When they lose that, they start questioning everything because the matrix is not believable anymore. The average thing that you're telling them to do doesn't work. And, that's the pro and the con of what's going on. Like, the con is things are getting weird. The pro is like the average propaganda is only being like consumed in normie places, and those places are on the decline. Anyone using the internet, they're not playing that game. You have a mainstream like meme page post something about this or Pride Month or that or some racial thing, and like you read the comments, like people are not buying that shit from both sides. Some people are saying some ignorant stuff. Some people are being rude, but the thing that I've noticed is just like people are not buying it. Like whether you think, oh, they shouldn't have said that, or that white person said that to a black person, and that black person said that to a white person. Say what you want. It's just whatever they wanted you to think when they posted that is not what people on either side are thinking. So it's a product of like people not liking where the country is and where it's heading. So yeah, the elites, I don't know what you're doing or what you want to do, but if you want people to obey, give them good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Be nice to people. You can't treat everyone like shit all the time, subvert everyone all the time, lie to people all the time, and then be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, all the hate is rising. And it's like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, what you thought you were just going to lock the country down, print a bunch of money, and like people were going to just be like better off? Did you really think, and get a vaccine? Like, you didn't think about the mental, physical, financial consequences of this? Really? You really did? Like, are you just pretending it? Like, did they not think of that and they're just lying and gaslighting us? Or are they really that stupid? Are they so elite that they just didn't even think of that because it didn't affect them? I don't know, but that's what I see when I see everything. And maybe some people will agree with me. Some people might think it's messed up, but like, yeah, I don't even like scrolling that much anymore. Cause like, I don't want to see people fight over Caitlin Clark. It's like, oh my, she got hit in the head by Angel Reese in a dirty foul, flagrant. I'm fine. I would even be fine with like maybe a suspension for that. I'd have to look at it again, but like, fouls happen, but it was hard and probably intentional. People are talking about arresting her. They're like, you got like white conservatives like, arrest her. The cops need to get involved. The cops need to get involved for a flagrant foul. Do the cops need to get involved when Kyrie Irving posts something about like Black Hebrew Israelites? Like the cops? Yeah, you need the police involved. No, she can get suspended or get a flagrant or get a fine, but you need to call the police on a female basketball game. Like, this is like people are having like race wars through WNBA. It's like crazy. I get what they're saying, but it's like the cops, really? No, they're trying to arrest the black chick for hitting the white chick, but it's just like a fine or a suspension or a flagrant, but like a police report, like, but that's just like people are like, they're freaking out. And it's like, I mean, yeah, the other players don't like her, but I'm not saying that's unnatural. I think there's always going to be a rivalry, and I think the rivalry is what makes it interesting. So as bad as it is, it's what makes her famous and interesting to watch. But regardless, I'm just saying, like, I see it from one side and I feel like people are losing it, and I don't feel like living on the internet arguing with people that are crazy on both sides. And then Super Chat said either you're pissed or part of the problem at this stage. Well, I'll say this real quick before I say what I was going to say. You're saying the only two options are you're the problem or you're pissed off. That is saying that being pissed means you could change it, or being pissed is good. I don't think being angry is a good thing. Like when I get angry, it makes me unhealthy. It flusters me. So like I want to handle my business and be strong without being angry all the time. I don't think you should be angry. I think you should be vigilant. Some of the people that are angry, they never gave a shit their whole life. They figured it out a year ago and now they're angry. It's like, okay, well, I've been working towards making things right for 8 years. You're more important to me because you're more mad than me or something like that. You think you're helping because you're mad. I'm more spiritual than that, but whatever. With that being said, I was talking about the WNBA stuff, and like scrolling can be stressful and annoying, but I want to say this as well. On one hand, I think to myself, people are, this is not fun to read. On another hand, I get why it's happening. You know what I'm saying? I'm realistic. So it's like, is it a horrible sign that this is happening, even though some of it's goofy and I disagree with what they're saying? I don't necessarily think so, where it's like, oh, look at the comment section. There's so much hate. Well, there's some hate, but also you perceive the truth as hate sometimes. I'm not saying with that situation, but with other ones, like, look what they're saying in the comments. Yeah, they're questioning a lot of things that you don't want them to question because, people are not buying what you're selling anymore. So I think this is natural progression to the country getting so shitty that now, you're starting to see people get annoyed. It's not always going to be in the right direction or people are going to say the right things, but to me, it is progress that more people are not just sitting there sucking up the propaganda and afraid to say something edgy. Like, to me, that's a positive shift. Like when everyone's just saying normie stuff, I'm like, oh, that's so great. I'm like, oh, this is boring. And everybody's just like so weak. And, I see the progression happening. It's just not going in the direction that a lot of people think it's going to go in, because in my view, a lot of people are buying certain lies that they don't want to let go of. Like the left has a lot of lies. They don't want to let go of it. just because this is one of the most important things I think I say that I hope people think about. Who you are isn't defined necessarily by the other guy. Like, if they're that, and does that mean you're this because they're that? Like, who are you? Like, the conservative movement is what it is. It's not just because the other side is so bad. Yeah, it'll make you look better, but it doesn't make you a great man. Like, that would be like being in prison and someone's like, yo, I killed 16 people. And you're like, oh, I must be a good man because I only did 14. It's like, you're both really fucked up. And, like, it's maybe slightly better, but not really. Like, you're also really fucked up too. And that's not a sign of morality that you're better than that guy. That's how I see politics. And I think that so many people on the right, they just think, well, look how brainwashed the left is. Look how wrong they are about history. Look how wrong they are about politics. Look how wrong they are about Ukraine. That must mean I'm right. Maybe about some things, about a lot of things, but like, what if you were also that wrong about other topics? Have you ever considered it? If you haven't considered it, how mad does it make you to consider that you're also wrong about certain topics? It makes you pretty mad, huh? Why does it make you so mad? Why are you so mad at the thought of being wrong about something? Like, why does that bother you so much? Is that your ego? Because no one should be bothered that much about being wrong. They should just correct themselves and, get right. Like, that's not a hard thing to do. It's like, I'm smarter than I was 4 years ago, or I have more information because I don't, someone says it's self-defense. I think that's exactly what it is when people freak out. But I think the right just assumes that they're getting the truth and they're waking up just because the left is so crazy. But to me, most right-wing, stuff is just like fake opposition. So when I see the backlash to the fake opposition, yeah, like, I understand it bothers a lot of people. They're like, I wish people would just like what we're doing. I wish people would do this. And I wish, that the comments weren't so crazy when he posts this or that. And it's like, I get that you want it that way, but and like, I don't agree with everything I read, obviously, or else I would say it myself. But like, I don't see all this as a negative thing. Like, this is the new guard figuring out that the old guard and the fake new guard is full of shit too. And that's like a natural occurrence when the opposition is fake. Like, like, I know people benefiting in that sphere, like, oh, we're doing our best to fight the left. It's like, well, it's not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's yeah, you're fighting the left sort of, but a lot of people think you're not. So, that's what I see as social media. Is I noticed the comment section more than 2 years ago, there's like 90% more opposition. There's 90% more people questioning things. There's 90% more people getting bold about certain topics. And even if you disagree about what they're saying, I think people will say like, oh, this is horrible. Like, the left is bad and now the right's bad too. And it's like, the right's been bad. You just haven't figured it out. So now more people are like, coming to conclusions like in different places. And it's a natural progression to being lied to so much. Like, that's how a lot of people are going to get. And someone said people are getting more nuts. I mean, this is the case with online. Like, I just noticed, like, I don't use X or Twitter that much as I used to maybe 3 weeks ago. But like, when I log into X, sometimes someone's saying some like crazy ass shit, like right off the bat. Like, I'm like enjoying my life. I'm working on stuff. I'm trying to like, make videos. And then I like read the first comment and it's like, screw you, blah, 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 blah. Like, some people are just freaking pissed off online, and some people, like, that's just how they use social media, is they just type things and get pissed off all the time. So it's like, part of it is also that, where the more I'm on X, the less I want to be on it, to be honest. Like, I like memes and jokes and I like information, but sometimes like the first thing I see is like something that's like just ridiculous and the energy is just so bad. It's like, they're just like, oh, screw you, blah, 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 and you're like, okay, like, and then you go to their feed and that's all they're doing to a lot of people, and you're like, this guy, it reminds me of this Sebastian Maniscalco joke about, like, he was like, back in the day, like, the crazy person in your family would be like locked in the basement, and if they ever came outside, like, someone would call the cops. He's joking, but like, it's like nowadays, like, that person has a connection to the internet. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but like, yeah, back in the day, like, it's like a homeless person. Like, you very rarely see homeless people at the top of hills. There's this one cool place to hike in Runyon Canyon. And, it's called Runyon Canyon, and they give away like snacks there. And they basically say, like, if you want the banana or you want this drink, just give $1. It's all based on an honor system. And even in LA, it works. And someone was like, you would think it wouldn't work in LA and people would like abuse it all the time. Some people do. But I go, no, but you got to remember, crackheads and homeless people, they don't like to walk up hills. Like, if you ever go on a hike, you very rarely see people up to no good. Like, if you want like good diversity on hikes, it like people that hike are like usually like healthy people. They're like, hey, I'm hiking. Like, you don't see like potheads at the top of like a mountain. Like, they don't want to walk up the mountain. And I'm not saying you could smoke weed and be athletic and walk up a mountain. You get what I'm saying though? It's like walking up hills oddly like filters out people. Like, no crackheads and annoying people are gonna like walk an hour up a hill to be annoying. They're just gonna stay at ground level and be a weirdo. So I'm trying to think where I was going with that. Oh yeah, the internet. It's like the internet is basically giving everyone a megaphone. So it's like, you have natural ways to filter people in real life, like hills and cold weather, where like most people are like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that shit. But I think on the internet, it's like, here's X. Everyone gets to yell at each other. And part of it is good. Part of it's like amazing. And part of it is like exhausting. And you're like, there's a lot of people here that I don't want to deal with. I'm going to end on this note. That's how I felt about watching like the AFPAC versus Turning Point thing. Like, I think, I didn't really look into it that much. So I don't want to like overstep or speak too much because my knowledge is pretty limited on what happened. But I know the counter to TPUSA was AFPAC, and they were supposed to have an event and they were supposed to have an after event, and both of them got semi-canceled. And then like someone lost a tooth, a sneako, and got punched in the face, and like a security guard. I'm not saying like I don't know how it went down, and I see that like the security guard was going back and forth, but like this is just how I'm processing it in my head, where it's like, do I want to go to Detroit? No. Do I think Detroit is a city that I would enjoy? Possibly, but I'm not running to Detroit like most people. That's not like, let me go to vacation in Detroit. Like, people are going to Hawaii or Florida or like beach towns. They're not like going there. But anyway, no disrespect to Detroit. It's just like, that's how I see a lot of things on the internet now. It's like everybody's fighting. So it's like, you go to do that, you got your tooth knocked out by a security guard. This is happening. Everybody's fighting. They're yelling at each other with cameras. Like, I just don't want any part of that. Like, it's not what I want to do. Like, I don't, that's not fun for me. But I see a lot of like stuff like that. Is like everybody just wants to yell at each other. Everybody wants to get in fights. Everybody wants to have their moment. Everybody wants to like fight with this guy. I'm not that guy. I just don't, I'm like, I don't want to fight with a security guard. I don't want to be yelling at someone in Detroit. Like, I don't live in Detroit. It's not my venue. This security guard works there every day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a weird situation to be in. And like stuff like that, I feel like a lot of politics is like that. It's like, let's go to this event. We'll go to this pride event and we'll yell at this person in the microphone, and then they're going to do this, and they're going to slap my head, and I'm going to say it's assault. And then they're going to say that I did it first. And then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to film it. Then I'm going to get on Fox News and be like, yo, this tranny hit me in the face with a pride flag and called me a right-wing bigot. And then I went to Detroit, and then there was Turning Point, and then I got my megaphone, and then someone got punched in the face, and then we filmed it, and then he knocked his hat off, but he knocked his hat off first. And then that's just what happened. And it's like, it's all exhausting to me, where I'm like, I get that you're going to be in real life sometimes and things are going to happen, but I feel like a lot of this stuff is like manifested, because that's like a lot of what right-wing politics is. It's like going to events for moments, like moments on the camera, moments at the thing. And I'm all for speaking gigs, and I'm all for like conferences. I think they're important. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just like the whole energy of it is just like, I don't know, like I get that that's what other people are playing a different game, and I'm not knocking it, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I think everyone has to be true to themselves and do what they think is right. I just don't feel called to like be in that circus. So like sometimes, like what are we all doing? Like if people do what I do to some extent, right? Like you wake up, like what do you want today? Like, do you want to get in a fight on Twitter? Do you want views? Do you want money? Like what, everybody wants something, but like, I don't know. I'm trying to find like, I I see what everyone's doing, and it's like everyone's caught in this like cyclone of just like and I'm like, you can't be having fun, because I know what it's like to be caught in that. So yeah, you got to work. Yeah, you got to make your money. Yeah, you got to go to events. Yeah, you got to, do what you want to do. But like, I'm more like sitting back. Like I'm not making false accusations about this or that, but it's like, I've already been to Turning Point. I know what they're about. With the other one, like, what are they about? Like, I'm not saying like I knew it was going to get canceled or this or that, or they were going to show up and like, but I'm more like, I'm not going to go to Detroit. I kind of just want to see like, how does it work out? Like, who's running it? Like, are they good at it? Like, should I trust this group? Or, and I'm not saying I fully don't, but it's like the whole, like the whole energy of it is just like, I'm more like more patient, and I'm more like, I don't, I'm not trying to like, I want to network and I want to meet people, but I guess like at this era in my life, I'm not desperate for new friends, and I don't want to pretend like I'm best friends with someone from the internet I just met. I want to network. I want to meet people. I'm not afraid to talk to people, but it's just like, the whole energy of like, I feel like everybody that works on the internet, and it's not their fault. They're like, we're all just caught in this constant like moment, because most people, if you're not working on the internet and you don't work on social media, how do you use social media? You're bored at work, log into Instagram. You're bored at work, log into Facebook. You're bored when you wake up, log into Facebook. If you're a content creator and you do this for a living, it's your job. So like, you're incentivized to never stop. Like, for example, before I went to bed last night, I scheduled 10 memes on Facebook, because that's now how I make some of my revenue, is posting memes. So it's like, I don't, like, it's work for me. I had to post 10 memes. I'm like sitting in bed at 11 o'clock, but it's like, if I post 10 memes to Facebook, I might make $100 or $200 before I wake up. I know that sounds crazy, but that's literally true. So it's like, do I not do this and don't make it? And if I do it, but I'm in a constant cycle, even like that, of like, you got to keep going, got to keep going, got to keep posting. Don't want to lose out. Don't want to miss this. Don't want to miss that. So it's like, I don't have the energy anymore to be fighting with people on Twitter, because I'm already in a constant state of, I got to make my show every day. I got to put it on my podcast. I got to load up all the clips. I got to edit it. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then on top of that, am I going to be like, do I want to fight with a liberal on social media? Do I want to fight with Seth Dillon of the Babylon Bee again? Do I want to be like a thing on, like I kind of don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have the energy or the mental capacity to be in 1,000 places at one time doing 1,000 things. But when this is your job, that's how you make money. That's how you get more successful. You got to be on like a thing. You got to put yourself out there. You got to go to events. You got to make a moment. So I feel like everyone's caught in this cycle of like, they can't stop, because if they stop, they're out of a job, and it's like, some of these people can retire. Like, I don't know Candace's financial thing, but she could probably retire. She doesn't want to, but she probably could. Ben Shapiro could probably retire. I don't think he wants to. Dan Bongino, I would think with all his ventures, could retire. Like, I'm not, it's fine. He's done well for himself, but most people, like, they can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want to, but also they're like, they have to keep going at a pace that's insane in order to stay afloat. Like, they can't stop. For me, like, I could stop to some extent, but like, what do I want to stop? Do I want to throw this all away in a shitty economy where, I'd have to do something else I'd probably hate more. So it's like, it's not that I want to stop, but it's like, you almost like can't stop. And it's like, oh, let me stop for 2 weeks. It's like, oh, and lose how many thousands of dollars, and then lose this. And then I might get back and I got censored. I come back from a cruise and they demonetize me. And now my reach is cut on here. It's like, I know that people are just like going because they just can't stop. But for me, it's like, do I want to go to a left-wing event and yell at somebody with a megaphone and get hit in the head to then film it, to post it? Like, no, I don't, and like, I think most people are just like stuck and trapped, and they don't know, they're just so engulfed in it that they don't know what they're doing. So I feel bad for everybody, but it's just the reality that we're in. Someone said you're too talented to stop. Well, yeah, I don't want to stop, and I'm not like trying to quit, but it's like, what do I want to, like, what's you're like, everybody's looking for like some sort of route. It's like, I don't want to post 100 memes a day for the rest of my life or whatever. It's like, it's not bad. It's not a bad, you could hire somebody to do it and whatever. But I think, this is just my interpretation, is a lot of us got into this, and a lot of people still have it, but like, most of us got into this with a purpose. Most of us got into this, and I would assume that most people that got into what I'm doing, they didn't even necessarily purposely do it, or they didn't know that it would lead to that. It just kind of happened. Like some people tried to, but for the most part, it happened. Now, how many people are doing it because they believe what they're doing, and how many people are doing it because they have to do it? Like, it went from a passion to something that mattered to them to something that they're just on a cycle of it. And I'm always just honest about it because, I know people that are like lower level at certain media companies, and it's like they literally can't afford to speak out about certain topics because they don't have enough money saved to even do anything else. So it's like they're stuck, and they at least have to play along to some extent. With me, I don't have to play along. I don't play along. And I'm not the type of person that's going to do something that I don't believe in. So then I just work at a different pace, because it's like working at a certain pace, you're just doing it. And it's like, how many people are stopping to think like, am I even right? Or what's going on? So it is what it is. And I found a pace that works for me and things that work for me. But my goal in the next year or so is like, I'm grateful for this year. I've had fun. This live stream was cool, and I figured out what I want to do. But I really like, my goal for the next year is like, I'm definitely probably going to relocate. And then it's like, I want to build the right thing that I'm just super passionate about. And I want to wake up every day and just like want to work and want to crush, where, it's election year. And I guess like, I just don't, unfortunately for my probably business model, I want Trump to win, but I just don't think about Trump versus Biden the same way that I used to. And if I thought about Trump versus Biden how I used to, I would be I could do like 5 videos a day, because I'd be like, yo, they're persecuting Trump and this and that, and they're going after Trump, and if he's in the way, then you're in the way, and the left called him racist, but he's not a racist, and they said that he hates Mexican, but he doesn't. Like, I just don't want to do that anymore. So I'm like, yeah, I get all that. I agree that they're lying about him, but it's not, it's at the point where it's like, it's not getting me going anymore. I need something that's like more interesting. So, we're all there. But I would just say for other creators and people, I just wonder, because like no one gives a shit about them, because they're like, oh, they're making money posting stuff, screw those guys. But sometimes I meet people in person and they're like, are you exhausted, or does this ever get stressful? And it's like, I always start with I've had harder jobs. It's not that bad. Like, I'm grateful to do what I do. I manage it well. I balance well. And I consider myself blessed, because in this world, like, I've had other jobs and I know what else is out there. So I'm never going to act like what I'm doing so hard. So I always say like, no, I'm good. But at the same time, I do think that everyone knows where it's like, yo, if you got to be on the phone 12 hours a day or whatever, like, it's got to get a little bit like stale at a certain point, and just like, not healthy. So I think a lot of people are going through that in this world, where like no one gives a shit about them, because they're like, yo, they're living the dream. But it's like living the dream on your phone all the time, constantly having to create controversy in order to get clicks, constantly needing a headline, constantly needing a story, constantly needing to be somewhere, getting in trouble. And like, it's like, I think a lot of people are like, mentally kind of tapped out, or just going through the motions. But can you show me around Texas? I've been to Texas. I'm not unfamiliar with the state, but I mean, I don't know everything. I don't know who you are. So no, I probably wouldn't let you at this moment like take me around Texas, but I appreciate the invite. Someone said Texas is way too freaking hot. Yeah, it is June. I almost said July. I'm like, I don't even know what month it is anymore. I'm like, it's 1995, right? People are like, no, it's 2024. You're like, oh yeah, sorry, I got a little caught up. But anyway, jokes aside, appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Check out dreamrare.com. I have limited edition merch. I would say almost every item except for one is under at least 30 or 40. And, some of them there's less than 10. Some of them there's only a couple. If you go to some of the shirts, they're sold out in a lot of sizes and stuff. And my plan is to kind of sell out the whole shop. So I'm doing a 20% off sale. It's 20% off with the code SUMMER, all capitals, SUMMER is how you spell summer, for the really dumb people watching this show that don't know how to spell summer, or perhaps English is not your first language and you just don't know. I just spelled it out for you. Summer, SUMMER, all caps, 20% off for a week until Sunday. Check it out. Grab some merch. And if you've ever wanted any of the designs, a lot of them you'll go and you'll know that I'm telling the truth, because you'll be like, oh, I want that shirt in large. And it's like, it's not there anymore. and you can't say I didn't tell you. So I don't know. I haven't memorized exactly which ones are there, but I would say a lot of the products are sold out in a lot of sizes. And if you want to get one now, because I'm going to not change everything, but I'm going to try to launch a different line eventually, like a real company that doesn't just do the same thing over and over. So appreciate you guys. Dreamrare.com. Check it out. Thank you guys for hanging out. I had a great day. Appreciate you.
Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work